There we go. Welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. I am extremely excited about my next guest. I've been following him for a long, long time, making some huge waves in hip hop. It is the one and only Kota the Friend. I love that he's now officially the friend or one of the friends of the show. But for those of you who haven't been checking him out or not up to date, but man, you've been dropping a lot of music in 2023. You've got To See a Sunset with Static Selector, which is like the reprisal or the second album of what you've done with him, which was the first, which was To Kill a Sunrise. You got Lyrics to Go Volume 4 as well that came out this year. You've got singles that are here, Go Brooklyn as well. Man, it's been kind of an amazing year already, like projects that are coming out and fans are obviously gravitating to them. I was just listening to them before this, but how does it feel to be, having so much momentum in 2023?
It feels good. This is kind of my plan throughout the rest of my career. I just want to make music, and a lot of it is pretty much all I do, and drop it. So I'm just excited for what's to come because there's so much experimenting that's gonna happen. There's so many collaborations that are gonna happen. Like it's gonna be crazy. This is just the beginning.
It's crazy to me that this is the beginning for you. Like in your mind, it's the beginning. I think a lot of people would look at your career to date and be like, man, I would wish to be in that position. And you're now going, well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think I can do more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just realizing that. I think one day I just realized that it was just the tip of the iceberg. And there was so much more experimenting that I wanted to do, and like this, I'm a fan of all music, and I just one day I was just like, man, why am I only kind of limiting myself to this style of music? And that kind of opened the floodgates because now I'm like, man, I want to collaborate with artists of from every continent, artists for every genre. Like I just want this. And once you think about it that way, then it's like, oh, now I can do anything. And now there's unlimited music that can be made and unlimited creativity. And so now I feel like I finally really tapped in. I finally tapped into that, and I'm just ready to do it. That's why I feel like it's the beginning. It's like a brand new chapter.
Is there a genre of music that you're most excited about trying to tap into? Is there something that you're like, I think this is the first place for me to try and throw my art at or throw my creativity at?
Yeah, trying to do house music, trying to definitely get into house music, pop, rock, R&B. But I think house is like the biggest one. It's like the most fun for me. You know,
Why do you say that? Why the most fun?
I don't know. It's something about the style that just gives me like room for so much creativity. My mind just runs wild when I hear those drums and when I hear like a house beat. I just kind of like it's like my most popular song is called Long Beach, and it kind of has like a house vibe, and it has till this day it has the most streams, and it's like the fastest growing song on my list. So
I think I don't know. I think there is this crossover, and the more I talk to artists such as yourself, and the more I listen to hip hop, and then when I start listening to other genres, the crossover in the sense of like the drums are there, and like it feels like all of a sudden, like even I've found, and historically I've been very stubborn with my pure love for hip hop, and that is it. But I've been finding myself enjoying other genres just because I'm feeling similarities in the sense of like they're still using like the fundamentals of sound to make it sound good. And I never realized that until recently.
mm. Yeah, I mean it's always good when like genres kind of get blended, where you kind of hear different genres in within other genres because it brings that's the whole point of crossover music, right? It's supposed to bridge the gap. So that's a good thing, I think.
Well, you might be on the forefront of house hip hop collaborations. And who knows, there might be a brand new genre that is kind of built off that combination of the two.
Maybe I this next project that I'm putting out is definitely that kind of vibe, like where it's like kind of what is this? Like you can sit down and be like, I can't really say that it's house music I can't really say it's R&B, but I can't really say it's funk either. It's just this kind of like, but that's what creativity and originality is. It's like you create something brand new from a whole bunch of experiences and a whole bunch of inspirations and artists that you've listened to over the course of your entire life, and just kind of bringing something that sounds new. It's not brand new, but to other people, it's like, oh, I've never really heard something like this before. So that's the exciting part. I'm hyped. Like I'm genuinely hyped.
Do you have a time frame for when that project is going to drop?
Yeah, I want to drop it in June. You know,
Right. So very
so
soon.
yeah, very soon.
Because the way we made it sound, or the way you made it sound, was like it's in the future, but it is very close.
Yeah, I've been making mad music, like, and I'm working on the next project after that already. So with different friends and different artists like all over the world, man, it's gonna be insane.
How do you create so much music? Because like I'm looking at you and I'm like, he's already dropped 2 albums this year. He's got a third coming up in June. That's only like halfway through the year. You're on track for like 6 albums plus singles plus features. And I'm like, I don't, some artists don't drop an album a year, let alone 6 projects to the quality that you seem to be dropping them at.
All I do is make music, you know. All I do is make music and spend time with my family, and so I really don't do much else. And so, and I like it that way. It's not like I'm never overwhelmed. Somebody yesterday asked me like, "Do you ever like get time for yourself?" And I was like, "Yo, I get so much time to myself." Like me and my wife will go on weekend vacations and we'll go hiking, and it's we do a lot of stuff that we want to do. It's just that when I'm not doing that, I'm making music. I don't go to clubs, I don't party, I don't spend a lot of my leisure time just kind of like doing just random things. So like everything I do is intentional, and even music, I don't make music every single day for 10 hours a day. I sometimes I'll wake up in the morning at like before everybody wakes up and I'll just write a verse, and maybe that will be all I do that day. Or maybe I write 3 verses, or some days I dedicate just to recording. But even on days where I work, I don't work all day. It's just every day I work. I do something, towards the goal. And it works.
Yeah. It's like I think it's difficult for people to understand, even if it's difficult for me to understand at times, because like when you work a full-time job, you have a very prescriptive of like I work from 9 till 5, and I get
Mhm.
up at the same time every single day, and I do the same amount of work every single day, and then I finish, and then that's when I'm free. Whereas like for you to have the freedom to literally decide when you're working is such a foreign feeling to most people.
Yeah, I think that's the blessing of being an artist. I started looking at me being an artist as kind of like my job in a way. It's just like, all right, I want to do it every day, but it's like I love my job. It's like I have a job that I love. So I make sure to appreciate that by just working every day, because I do love what I do. And yeah, it kind of, I'm grateful for the freedom, and so I don't take it for granted, you know?
When
Yeah.
when you like started getting into like the rhythm of it, or like started really making music, what were people saying around you? Because I think this beginning of a music career is always an interesting kind of experience for every artist, because it's like you're now officially taking the risk. Like now you're officially going, hey, this is something I want to do. This is something that I'm throwing my hand at, especially when you stop working a full-time job. But did you have the perspective of others around to ask you questions or be like, hey man, like, are you sure this is what you want to do?
Um, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I had a couple people that were like, "Yo, you sure this is, what you sure you want to be an artist?" And this must be hard. There's so many people that want to be artists, and the thing is, I had already had that conversation with myself, and I had already decided that this is what I'm gonna do, and it was grind mode. At that time, it was just straight grind mode. I definitely don't have the work-life balance that I have now. You know, it's like when I was just starting, it was just every single day, whether it was from sun up to sundown, and then I would wake up in the middle of the night to work, you know? And so I wasn't even getting sleep. It was just straight up work. You know, as soon as I could go on tour, I was on tour for however long I could be on tour, and it was just work. My life was like 100%. Yo, we got to get to it, you know, and everything else kind of came second to that.
How long were you doing that live for?
Um, it was probably like I'd say almost 2 years. I was really living like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's like 2 years, practically zero sleep.
yeah. Basically, it was really crazy, and I think that's why now, now I kind of see it as like I have so much time, you know, to do everything because like I've just always worked hard. I've always been a hard worker. Like I always put 100% in, you know?
And so when you were living that like life of like constantly writing, constantly making music, were you going out in terms of like partying, or were you just like so focused of like, I'm committing all my time, all my energy to this?
Yeah, I was super focused. Like I barely went out. I barely like went out. And when I did go out, it was just for like a couple beers with my friends. But it was I've never really been a partier because I've been working since I was like 13. I've been working jobs since I was like my I just become a teenager. So like I was never heavy into any party scene. It was always like I gotta get to it.
Yeah, I think it's like interesting to hear from people like yourself, because it's like the image of a rapper and the image of an artist is that party person, is the person who's like, you know, loves the crowd and loves like all the attention and is like drinking until like 4 a.m. or whatever it is. But like the reality is, most artists or a lot of artists aren't like that. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just because if you do that all the time, you cannot make the music that you make, because
Right.
like you lose something in the creativity when you're not actually looking after yourself.
True. I agree. That's the misconception, right? And I think, you know, sometimes people mix up rock stars with artists, you know? Like there's so many different kinds of artists and not every artist is a rock star. Like so a lot of artists just make music and stay to themselves. And you know, that's the truth.
Well, man, it's clearly working. So like no complaints from me, and I'm sure no complaints from the fans. So I'm
Yeah.
sure they would love to see you more at parties, but at the same time, hey, it's working. So why fuck with the formula?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So
Well, something that I found interesting when I was reading up on you was like that you rejected like deals, that you decided to stay independent and have your independence. But obviously, when you're coming up and you're kind of growing, what made you go against the security, I would say, of like a deal as opposed to actually, you know, continuing on your own?
yeah, at the beginning of my career, I always said that if I could feed my family and have a house over our heads, then that would be enough, you know? And as soon as I had enough money to do that, I realized that I didn't need to sign a deal, you know, because I could own my music and I could support my family. For me, that was a win-win. And as soon as I remember the first time I saw money in my account from music, I was like, wow, I can really do this. Like I can, you know, at the time I was trying to get signed by a label, and that would have been the dream. But the moment that I saw money in my account, I was like, oh, I can actually do this by myself. I don't need to just accept any random deal, or I don't have to go chasing after these record labels to give me a deal. It's like, and so I decided to just build on that and see where I could go by myself and see how far it could get me. And I had no idea that I would go this far, but you know, as soon now I'm thinking now we can take it to the next level and do something even cooler. So, you know, the sky's the limit for artistry nowadays and everything's changing, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you remember how much it was you originally got, like that first amount?
Yeah, I saw there was $8,000 in my TuneCore account. and that changed my life. I was like, whoa, because before I saw that money in my account, I was like struggling to buy diapers for my kid, because he was still a baby at the time, and I was like, wow, I wasn't even checking to see how much money I had in the account. I was just putting out music. I was just putting out music and I was working, you know. I was like shooting videos for other artists, and that really changed my whole life because I completely decided to just do music and figure out how I can really make this work.
And how long were you into your career at that point?
I was probably like a year and a half in. Yeah, a year and a half.
And that's where it all changed. That's where you were like, I can do it.
And I just went full steam, full speed ahead.
I wonder what would have happened if you didn't check your account. You know what I mean?
I don't know what would happen, man. I probably would have still been shooting videos as my main job. And then if I wouldn't, I don't know. I don't know what it, I don't, if I never checked the account, none of this would happen. None of this would be happening right now.
I
You
mean,
know?
I'm sure you would have found out at some point where someone's
Yeah.
like, hey, man, you should check the account because you got money in there. But like, it's interesting, like the fork in the road where you're trying to chase a deal or you're going down that avenue, and I wonder like how far you would have gone down that road without finding out. Like it's always
Man.
the alternate universe in a way is an interesting ponderance to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, that'll wreck your brain trying to think of what would have happened.
Well, I think that's why I'm here on a show talking nonsensically for an hour and a half. But I mean, because you also started, in college as well. Like you had a rap group, and y'all kind of that's where you were really honing your craft. But do you remember the how it came together? Starting like because I think there was three of you.
Yeah, there was three of us. We were just homies, man. Like we met on the first day of school. It was college. It was exciting, and we just kind of like came together. One of them was like the brilliant singer. His name was Trey. The other dude was Joe. He was this white kid who wanted to rap, and he was dope. And we were just having fun, and those are the best times. It's the times where you appreciate the most when you look back on. You're like, man, we it wasn't about the money. It was just if anybody listened to our music, we were hype, and like it got to a point where people around campus were actually playing our music, and like we would put out free music and on a link, right? And you'd be like, yo, check out this link or whatever. And like thousands of people would like download our songs. And that was just we obviously we're not making any money. Those are the days of like CDs was still a thing, yeah, So it's come a long way.
What are they up to now?
I don't really know. I don't really know 100%. Stayed we haven't stayed that tight, man. Honestly, I should check in and see what's going on. But yeah, life happens.
Yeah. So did you all separate after college, or like what happened there with the music? Because obviously it sounded like, well, the way you described it, it sounds like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was mad fun. I dropped out first, so I dropped out before everybody. Everybody else stayed in school, and I went about my life. I was like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. I just want to make music and shoot videos and see where it gets me. And I really just that's really what I did, man. I said, forget all this other stuff. And after that it was just me and the hustle. And so I was kind of off on my own.
Because what were you studying in college?
Music. I was studying music, but it was just so boring, bro. It was like
Really?
I knew pretty much everything that I was learning at the school. And it was just like, man, I don't want to be here taking another math course, another English course, another this and it's like I was done with school.
So what were they teaching in like? Because it's
Hmm.
interesting to me that you're like, forget the learning of music because I've learned enough. and this is shit is boring. I'm gonna go live music. And so I wonder what the disconnect is between the two of like clearly it didn't add enough for you to stay, but it also didn't dissuade you from following your dream, which was to become a musician and become an artist.
Yeah, well, it was really music theory. Like when you study music, they're teaching you music theory. They're teaching you how to be a proper musician, you know? And it's cool. It's cool to learn. It just takes it shouldn't take 4 years of my life, I don't think, you know. A lot of this stuff you can learn online on YouTube, you know. But so I knew it wasn't gonna if I didn't get a degree, I knew it wasn't gonna stop me from, pursuing music.
Isn't that funny though that like a degree to a musician is essentially worthless?
Yeah, I think nowadays and a degree period is becoming worthless,
Well,
because people want to know that you can actually do these things, It's like what is a what does it matter that you have a piece of paper if I'm not sure that you can do this in real life, And those real life skills become more important because it's like you can learn all you want, but that's why you have to work in the field in order to get a real job. Like you have to do an internship so people know that you can actually do this job in real time and you can learn about the industry as it's happening, not what's going on in your history, but what's going on in your textbooks.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think, the weird thing is that like what university and what college teach you are like the skills outside of your immediate degree in a way. Like I personally, I did a commerce law. So I at
Right.
the uni, but like the law is always changing. And like I know the basics of like business and stuff like that, but what it actually teaches you is the ability to like learn and the ability to like focus and study and kind of get through something that's a bit shit. And so it teaches you those secondary skills so that you're well equipped in life. That I don't remember shit about my law degree. I genuinely don't. I know like three laws, but I think everyone knows them. I think don't kill, don't steal, and see that's pretty
Yeah.
much it.
Right. Nah, that makes sense, man. Like it teaches you. I think my mom told me that she was like, you gain discipline by doing something you don't want to do, for 4 years. I'm like, man, but even in this music industry, in this music world, yo, I've worked my ass off, and you learn discipline by trying to make it in this because a lot of people get college degrees, not a lot of people become rappers and tour the world 3 times, and get to see the world because of their music. So it's just like, whatever way you put it, in this life, you're gonna have to work hard and you're gonna have to be disciplined and you're gonna have to sit down and learn something. So like I don't really I don't necessarily knock that part of college because I believe you're gonna pay your dues no matter what. Some people are gonna pay their dues in the real world, some people are gonna pay their dues sitting in a school for 4 to 8 years or whatever, however many crazy years that is, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I got asked the other day if I would ever do a master's degree, and I was like, not unless I'm getting paid.
Right.
It's yeah, I can't like now living in the real world, I cannot imagine going back. I cannot imagine going back and like sitting in a classroom and just getting told. And off like the thing that frustrates me is like the people that are teaching me are often not the people I ever want to become.
Mm,
So like,
mm.
if Jay-Z taught a music class, then I would go because I would be like, well, that guy knows exactly what he's like talking about the dream that I have, and he's shown that he's done it. Whereas, like, some old crusty, white guy who, okay, he knows how to play the piano or whatever, like that's not the same because that's not what I ever want to be. So when he's talking about stuff, it's like the disconnect is real. So I think that's what's interesting about like college and uni is the people that are teaching you are never the people you actually want to become.
Right. True. Because they're teaching and you want to be out there in the world,
Yeah.
changing changing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you've traveled the world. How was that?
It's beautiful. And I've always wanted to. I think more than anything, I've always wanted to travel and see new things. Like growing up, it was I spent a lot of time just in Brooklyn, just in New York, and so travel has been on at the top of my list. So being able to go to South Africa and being able to go to Europe and see Paris. And I was in Paris and I brought my dad with me to Paris. And it's just like, man, he's never been to Europe. So it's just like it's both of us there. And now this is my third time being in Europe. Whereas this is his first time. So it's just it tripped me out. Like I remember the last time we toured Europe, I remember thinking like, wow, this is really my third time being here. Like and that's just crazy for me because growing up we didn't go anywhere. And yeah, just going all over the world. Even we've been to Australia, we were in Brisbane, we were in Melbourne, we went to New Zealand, Auckland, like it's insane to even think about, man, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower or you know, every time we touch down, man. I was excited 5 years ago when I went to California, and now I live in California, like so it still blows my mind sometimes.
Well, let me ask you this. How did you feel when you saw the Eiffel Tower? Because I get contradictory reports. I've been to France as well, and I'll tell you how I felt when I saw the Eiffel Tower after you tell me, but did it live up to the hype?
When I saw it, all I thought was, man, it's big. It's a big thing. It's big. I didn't really. It's more of like the energy for me. It's just like, man, I've seen this in movies. I've seen it in television shows, but now I'm witnessing it. It's kind of similar to somebody probably landing in New York and going to 42nd Street in Times Square, and they're like, "Whoa, this is insane. I've seen this in movies." It's the same thing. It's like, man, I get to experience something that kind of I've just grown up. It's always been so far away, but now it's like right here. I can actually like almost touch it.
And the
So
coolest thing about it is that now when you watch movies and you see it, you can be like, I've been there. Like I do that
yeah,
all the time in movies. I'm like, I've been there. I know where that is.
it's like you know what it is too. It's like you can watch a movie now and you know what it feels like to be in that place. Like now I watch movies and shows about Paris and I understand certain things that happens in the show. Like when when they talk about there's no AC in the homes in the apartments in Paris, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that. I experienced that. When you talk about people being kind of rude, I'm like, yeah, I experienced that too. It's just like there's certain things that you just understand about life that you only know if you go. You can people can tell you about their experience, but you don't know until you go.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember watching John Wick, the fourth John Wick, and like
Mhm.
he's riding through like the Arc de Triomphe, and I'm like, I've been there. Like I remember being there and actually like just looking at it and going, wow, this is pretty cool. And so just seeing that kind of stuff, and they're always in Rome. Like I've been fortunate enough to be in Rome and like see the Colosseum, and seeing the Colosseum is wild. Like I I, I remember just like seeing it down a street. Like where we stayed, it was like a whole street down by the Colosseum, and it was almost like it's not real. Like
Wow.
it's
Gotta
such
check it.
a weird feeling to see the Colosseum because it still holds. It held, I think, like close to 50,000 people, and we're talking
Mm.
about an ancient stadium that's still standing today. Whereas, like, it was so insane to just like walk through it and see it, and just even be on the outside was crazy.
Yeah. I gotta check it out. Can you go inside of
Yeah,
that? I gotta check it out.
it's really really cool. I highly recommend. I think Rome is one of my favorite cities in Europe. Like it is
It's good
just
to know.
like, and there's so much architecture and just like on. So me and my brother, funnily, are going in like 3 weeks back to Rome, uh, to like eat Italian food and then live it up a little bit.
Bye.
So he's never been. It's going to be his first time in Rome as well. So I'm going to have a similar experience, hopefully, to that you had with your dad in France.
Nah, that's cool, man. Rome is now on my list because you. So shout out to you. Yeah.
Man, you'll have to send me a message. Take a photo with you next to the Colosseum, and genuinely, the food. Like I got so fat when I went to Italy. Like genuinely so fat. It was just bread and carbs, and I definitely went too far.
Okay, favorite Italian food. What's up? Especially when you're in Rome.
All right. So there was this tiny place that was on the corner of like the street where I stayed at, like at this Airbnb, and it was this pizza place. And I remember going there with my friend, and like we hadn't eaten anything pretty much all day, and they've got these wood fire ovens, and so they chuck it in, and like the pizza didn't come out round; it came out like misshapen, and so it was like, and so it was, and there was just Italians in there. They didn't speak any English. They just gave us the menus, and we just like essentially picked something out. I think I got like a 4 cheese pizza, and my friends got something else, but like it was just like this mix. It had like a thing sticking out here, and the crust was so crispy, and oh, it was. I still to this day, that happened probably 6 years ago, and to this day, it's one of the best pizzas I've ever had in my life. And it was
Wow.
just like the feeling of the place, and just the bustling of, and it was just packed with locals, and that was all it was, and it was unbelievable. Cannot
Do you
stop
remember
talking
the
about
name?
it. I don't remember the name. I think I remember the location, and if I Google precisely, I can probably find it. I can probably find it, but I don't think it didn't. I don't remember any signs on it. That's the thing. I just remember
Mm,
walking past it and seeing
yeah,
people there, and I was like, "Oh, we have to check it out."
that's so crazy, man. Like, hopefully I can find it. Hopefully you can find it, and then I can find it.
I'll send it to you. I'll find it at some point for sure, because I want to go back and take my brother. But yeah, I think it's a privilege to be able to travel. I think like seeing other countries and seeing other cultures in the real life really shows you and puts your life into perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you think about where you're from, wherever you're at, you think you compare it to where you're from, kind of, and because you only know we if you never travel, you only know one experience. But when you travel, it kind of broadens your horizons, and then you're like, oh, life can happen in very different ways. It's not just in my way, and then well, that's how you're supposed to go about it. That's how you're supposed to start thinking. You travel other places and you're like, man, life is bigger than just my neighborhood and my city. And it allows you to understand people better. So, and be less judgmental to other people and their customs. It's like because people in different countries, they have customs that would be crazy to you. They'd be like, why would you ever do that? And the people over there were like, well, bro, they're like, yo, this is normal, you know? Stuff that gets you canceled over here, over there, they're like, bro, this is everyday life for us, bro. We don't, you know, and so it's really just understanding each other, and I think that's the beautiful part about it. And that's why I think a lot of times in the States people are closed minded because not everybody's traveling the world, bro. And that's why people can't stand Americans, bro, because we feel like because in America they feel like they can go anywhere and tell everybody else how to live. And I'm just 100% against that. It's just like I believe in everybody just living the way they do. If it makes you happy, then cool. And to me, I like to go places and live like they do. Like winning. I'm a winning Rome type of person. So like wherever I go, I'm like, what vibe are y'all on? Because I need to get on this vibe. Whatever y'all doing.
I agree with you. I think one of the best parts of like being human is like experiencing all the different cultures. And see, I
Mhm.
personally like Americans because y'all are chatty as hell. And I love a good chat. So when I was in the States, like everyone wants to talk to you, and especially because they obviously I sound different. I don't sound like I'm from the US. So everyone's like, where are you from? A lot of people think I'm British, which is also strange to me. But then I'm like, no, I'm from Australia. But yeah, I think going out, experiencing different cultures. I'm sure you can do that in the US. Is like go to different neighborhoods and go to like different districts and go like, hey, I'm going to experience like what they eat and just the energy that you feel in a different place. I think that's one of the best things is genuinely embracing it as opposed to doing it with judgment.
Yeah, that's the best way to live, man. For real.
I would agree more. Actually, I wanted to, speaking of flights, you've also got a clothing brand, Flight Boys. And I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you about that because it seems like that is also continuing to garner success and continuing to grow. But how has that been over the journey of like, building a clothing brand and building another brand on top of the brand of you being an artist as well?
Yeah. We're still building it. I haven't done everything that I want to do with it yet, but it's something that's always in the works. You know, it never stops. Like we have a home base in Pennsylvania where we ship our clothes, we ship the clothes from, and we're just kind of building behind the scenes, and we're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So yeah.
Do you have, I know you have a vision for your music. I'm sure you have a vision for your clothing brand, but do you have anything that you're like looking to as like the next step of like continuing to get the momentum?
I think collaborations with other brands, just collaborations and just creating more designs, and I just need time. I just need to like carve out time to actually like build that out the right way. And so that's really next. Just giving it the attention it needs to be successful.
Yeah, I think like I look at you and I look at artists and I'm like, y'all are just entrepreneurs now. Like
Yeah,
y'all just have to, you're just building businesses. That's essentially what it is, independent businesses.
yeah. Especially now they got AI generated musicians, so we're gonna have to really work, you know? We're gonna have to work twice as hard to figure out, man, if this music thing ever blows up in our faces, we're gonna have to figure out a way. So
Well, how
yeah.
do you feel about the AI music?
Um it's crazy concept. It's but I feel like that about a lot of like technology now. I'm like, man, I did not see it happening this fast, you know? I did not see what I didn't see it coming, man. When I think back to 2015, I was it's crazy to think that's almost 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, nuts.
Right? It's insane. But in 2015, I put out my first video with the lyrics on it, and I I was doing these like short form videos, 1 minute each, and I was dropping that like every week. I was the only person doing anything like that, you know? And now you fast forward to now, that's all the internet is these short form videos. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. Like people don't really care about a full video when they can just put when a 20-second video does better, or even better, even a 10-second video does even better than the 20-second video. So why would I try to put my all into making a great video when I can just put up this 10-second clip and it goes viral in a couple of days? So it's a crazy world we live in, and I think that kind of led to the AI vibe because man, you don't have to be Drake to make a song that sounds like Drake now. It's like, you know what? Look, I kind of am Drake because I use his voice. I did some simple bars, and now it sounds like a song that you want to play on repeat. And I'm gonna get rich off of this. It kind of we live in the we live in the era where everybody wants the Drake attention, you know? And I don't have to be talented or gifted or anything to be just as popular or even more popular. And everybody's a celebrity, man. TikTok, everybody went viral on TikTok, you know, all types of people that have no skill, that didn't work at anything, anybody can get it. And it's it's just it's a crazy time we live in. And so I think now more than ever, I'm just trying to keep my eyes on my art and my family and stay close because it's going crazy out here. It's
Yeah,
going
I
crazy.
mean, the exponential growth of AI since the beginning of this year, like the amount that it's blown up and the shit that it can do, and like as you said, I mean, it's one of my fears is like, and I'm putting myself in your shoes. One of my fears would be someone, replicating my own music, my own feel, and then putting it out and being like, hey, I did this and this is mine, but it's using your voice. And I wonder if artists are going to start copywriting their voice and start copywriting their lyrics. And like it's just we're heading into this weird, murky territory. It's like it's getting so complicated, and it's already complicated enough as it is, but like now it's almost like you might not have a choice.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. I don't even know if you can copyright a voice. I don't think that you can. I'm not sure. But all I know is that it's scary out here. You know, AI, but you think about all the movies that we've seen where AI is implemented and the world is destroyed, basically, or near destruction. Like, so I think everybody is kind of like on edge about it, like, yo, and I don't think it's gonna get better. I think it's gonna get worse. Um, I think it's gonna get more and more scary.
That's why
But
I say please and thank you to the AI. I'm like, hey, can you please help me? And then like, thank you very much. Because if they when they do take over, I want them to be like, hey, he was nice to us, so like let's spare him.
it's a joke. It's a joke right now, but man, like AI is really gonna be doing everything for us. You know, humans have this obsession with making life easy. You know, with making everything accessible. And I think I was watching some documentary where they said we ask can we do this, but we don't ask should we. You know, like we're always saying, can we make this easier? Can we make this faster? Can we make it this? But we don't ask, should we do that? You know, should we actually try to mass produce beef on this level? You know, it's like, should we be feeding corn to cows? Should we be, you know, should we allow AI to do everything for us? Like, should we be creating these new robot police officers? Like, should they, it
Yeah,
gets,
well, I heard they've got like robot dogs in some places.
I've heard that too, man. And nobody's asking, should we? Everybody's just asking, can we? It needs to stop. But it's not gonna stop because that's manifest destiny, you know. So
Well, you and I both know that there's too much money in that for them.
yeah, but it's money is stupid though. That's was the stupidest thing has to be money. Like has to be, man, because people will choose riches over life. This shit is crazy, bro. Like money's people. The thing is, there's people hoarding so much money that it's really pointless, man. Everybody, a lot of people trying to struggle to survive. Some people have all the damn money, and this shit don't make any sense, bro. Shit's funny. The only thing that's real is art and family and love, bro. Everything else is just whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's weird to me that you were like, oh, it's interesting because you're like, we're trying to make our lives easier, but by making our lives easier, we're actually making it 1,000 times harder and 1,000 times more complex. Because like, I don't know if like, when you were looking at buying places or looking at renting and you've seen the rental agreement and you're like, what the fuck are all these words? Like, what do they
Mhm.
mean? It's so complicated. The law is so complicated. And like, by making it easier, we've created this world of like just paperwork, and admin drives me absolutely fucking crazy. Like
Mhm.
crazy. I'm so sick of like I have to fill this form out and that form out just to do, and it's like all I'm doing is paperwork just to like try and live my life.
Right? It's insane, bro. It's like yeah we try to make our lives easier, but we end up making them harder. You said it. You said it perfect. Um, it's weird. It's something that humans do. When it could just be simple. Somebody told me a story a long time ago. They were like, you know, the guy comes from a small farm, right? A small little farm beach town where he just kind of like hung out all day and kicked it and had his nice family or whatever. And a man from the city came in and said, "Hey, if you come to the city, you can, you know, you can make a bunch of money and whatever." And so he made a bunch of money and he went to the city just to come back to his beach town and retire. You know, it's like when you could have just been chilling that whole time, bro. You could have just been enjoying your life that whole time. And I think humans miss that point. Like we could really be here enjoying this all together. Like not one person suffering more than the other person. Like we can really be enjoying this, but instead we want to create all these wars and all this, like, because of power. People hungry for power. People want to be above other people, and it's like when we can all be living our best life, bro. But you know, that's how it's supposed to be, obviously, because it is the way it is. So I'm just trying to survive, you know. That's
Well,
it.
I do wonder what it would like without having jobs. Like, what if none of us had jobs? Like, we just like did what we needed to do as a society to, like, I think there is a real argument to be like have small communities that look after, and you essentially look after your own community. You police it yourselves. You like look after the school or whatever. Like, there's something to be said about being invested into your own community as opposed to what we're now is like we're one of millions who live in the same city, but we don't really invest in it because we feel like we're just ants. Like,
Right.
there's just so many of us in the colony that it's like, what is the point? And so we're essentially walking by ourselves next to each other, which is such
Right.
a weird experience. So I do wonder what it would be like if we just were like, hey, we don't have to do the shit that we're doing. Like, you know, why do we have these massive companies? Like, what's the point? Like,
Mhm.
like we could just do it and help others and like just live well together. But again, I think you said the perfect thing, which is everyone's hungry for power, whether it's capitalism or any other way of government. They're all just wanting power, and it's like the human condition that we're obsessed with just getting more, as opposed to being satisfied with what we have.
Right. Right. It's capitalism, right? Everybody's trying to capitalize. Everybody wants to be above. It's like, how can I get more? But you know, trying to live the simple life, man. Trying to live a simple life. Don't never need too much. And so it's just, but that's partly why I live my life the way I do. I make music, I chill with my family, um, and I get so much done because it's just like, man, I don't need much, man. Like me and my wife, we have like a nice little house a few blocks from the beach in an area that not a lot of people are trying to live in, but we enjoy our life, and I'm just trying to live like that as much as possible because life is happening right now and I'm not trying to miss it. Trying to, elevate, trying to buy this car and this house and upgrade and continuously upgrade. At some point you have to sit and be like, I'm happy with what I have. Like at some point.
Yeah, I think it's a balance for it all because as we said, like you're just finding the the tip of the iceberg for your music career, but you're also
Mhm.
happy with where you're at. So if you can do both, which is like enjoy the moment you live in, but also have an eye on the future of what else you can achieve, then I think that's the best of both worlds.
It is. And even when it comes to like, this being the tip of my iceberg for my career, it's not about money, it's about creativity. It's about like I'm alive. I'm not just gonna sit here and do nothing. Like I'm gonna use my gifts to create something cool. And at the top of 2023, I just was like, I want to make cool things with cool people. I want to make cool art with cool people. And that's why now it's April and we've already put out two projects and we have the deluxe of To See a Sunset coming out. And I got another album coming out in June because like I'm fulfilling the things I said at the beginning of the year. I'm making it happen because like I really want to just create. Um, it's just about having creations and putting them in the universe and moving on to the next one. You know,
Yeah. Can I ask, how did you get in touch with Static Selector? Because like now you guys have worked on multiple projects together, but what was the origin of that relationship?
he hit me up randomly a few years ago. I think it was 2018, and he was just like, "Bro, I want you to come on my radio show." And I was like, "Cool, say less." So I came to the show, and after that, he said, "Yo, let's get in the studio." I just whatever Static asked me to do, I was there. Period. Like I never said no. I was just like, yo, what are we doing? He would just tell me, and we just make it happen. And then he hit me up to do a joint project, and just like everything else, I was like, let's go, let's get it. And he asked me to do the sequel, and then I'm like, yo, let's get it again, let's do it. And that's really our relationship, man, for real.
It's funny to me when people like him are like, "Hey, do you want to work together?" And it's like, "Hey, I know who you are, right? You know that I'm aware of like all the cool shit that you've done in your career, and I would be
Mm-hmm.
crazy not to say yes. So yeah, of course."
Exactly. That's our relationship. That's it. Mhm.
Does he know that? Does he know that
Yeah,
like,
pretty sure he knows. Yeah.
yeah? Because like I think people like that in this industry that like you hear their names and you're like, I mean, to be fair, you're almost in that category of like the shit that you've been doing. Everyone's like, yes, I'll do a joint with you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think some for some people it is like that. For some people, I hit them up and they're like, yeah, I love to do a record with you. And some people are still getting to know, and that's cool, you know? That's cool, man. Either way, man, I've been contacting all types of people lately. Like in 2022, I was way more reserved with the kind of people that I hit up to do records with. And in 2023, I'm just like hitting up anybody that I think is like super talented and I can make some good art with. I'm like, I don't even waste any time because like life is short, you know? So
I took the same approach with the podcast. I was like, hey, why am I boxing myself in? Anyone who I think I'll have a good conversation with or is somewhat interesting, let's fucking go. Let's like, why limit yourself? Like, as
right.
much as this is the hip hop hustle podcast, I was like, well, my only limitation is whatever limitation I put on myself. And there's no
Hmm.
one else to tell me that I can't do whatever the hell I like. And similar to you, I'm independent. So I it's my choice at the end of the day. So I love that as like just expanding and just going for it.
Whatever you want, bro. Whatever you want.
I think that's the message for everyone. It's like just do whatever you want. Like that's the best.
It's the funnest way to live, man. It's the funnest way.
Can I ask? Because I also saw that you have songs in movies and not small movies. Like you have a song in I think it's You People. Pomegranate is in You People, and then you've got a song in Emergency as well. The uh, Scapegoat is your song in the movie Emergency. How is that of getting your songs as placements?
They contacted us. Amazon contacted us. Amazon Prime contacted us, and then Netflix contacted us about You People, and that's been the story. Those I think I have a couple more placements, not too many, but yeah.
Because I mean, these aren't like small movies that your songs are in.
I love both of those movies, to be honest. Like I've watched both of those movies several times, not even for my song, just because of the fact that I like those movies. So yeah, those are some good ones.
Yeah, I agree. But I watched You People as well. So when I watched it, to be fair, it is very similar to Who I Am, Jonah Hill in that, and I'm like, oh, that's weirdly eerie. So I smoked a joint and I watched it, and I was just like, just vibing off. It just works so well that movie, and Jonah Hill is so underrated to me. Well, I don't think anymore, but like he's been good for so long, and he is genuinely such a good actor.
Yeah, yeah, nah, Jonah Hill's great, bro. I liked him in The Wolf of Wall Street. That's one of my favorites of like roles of his. But even in You People, he was really good. So shout out to him, man. He also came out with like a documentary with his therapist. I
I
don't
think
know if you saw
it's nuts. I haven't watched it yet, but
that.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm scared of what it will reveal about myself. To be honest, I've been putting it off.
Yeah, it was good, man. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
What did you
Eye
take
opening.
from it? Like, was there anything that you took from it?
I would have to watch it again because I watched it like I was like when you're watching, I was watching the kids, and I was watching that at the same time. So I didn't give it 100% of my attention, but the parts that I did watch were good, and it was just like a conversation where he was kind of like asking his therapist questions, instead of it being the other way around. He was pretty much giving his therapist a therapy session, and it was just crazy to see his therapist just get vulnerable and basically admit to his faults, and kind of go through situations you know in his life, and just talk about these situations, and talk about how he really didn't have it all together when he made these decisions. And and this is a therapist talking, so it just really humanized him, and it humanizes all people, even therapists, that they go through stuff just like we go through stuff. And um they deal with pain just like we deal with pain. And so it's like, as a person, it doesn't matter if you're here to help other people, you're still going to deal with your own stuff. And sometimes you're not going to have all the answers, even when you're supposed to have the answers. Like, as a therapist, you're supposed to have the answers in a way, and they don't even have all of them. So it just shows like, man, we all just kind of living in this shit together, trying to figure it out. Everybody.
Well, I think you touched on something that I cannot agree with more, is that we're all bullshitting our way through it. None
Mm-hmm.
of us know what the fuck is going on. It doesn't matter what position you're in. You're all just trying to figure it out together. Like, that's essentially what it is. No one knows, because the world we live in is different from the one we lived in 50 years ago. And everyone's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe you do this. Maybe that's the right answer. But no one knows for sure.
Yeah, that's ain't that a bitch, right? Because we're all so judgmental of one another, right? But nobody knows how to make shit better, bro. Like, but we all judge each other so harshly, man. Like, we treat each other like shit on a daily basis, and put each other down about things that we will. A person will learn something on Monday, and on Tuesday shit on somebody else that doesn't have that information. Like, that's the kind of world we live in, so I stay away from it.
It reminds me of like in school when this what I would do personally is like when at the end of a test everyone's like together and talking about, oh, this question, did you get this answer? And I remember like the smartest kids in class were like, yeah, I got this answer, this is the right answer. And then some other kid was like, nah, it's like one. And everyone's like, idiot, you're so stupid. And then I also put one, and I was like, idiot, stupid. Like, I didn't want to admit that I fucked up as well. But like, it's that mentality of like, you just don't want to feel dumb, even though no one knows the real answer, because it's just like a test and you don't know until you get your paper back. But that happened a number of times.
It's cool that you remember. It's cool that you remember that, because that is the perfect, example, really.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I think the one of the benefits of your music is the feeling and the things that you talk about in your music. But I only have one more question for you, and it's probably the hardest question I'm going to ask. So, if you had to recommend one album that everybody should listen to at least once, can be any genre of music, cannot be your own music, what would
Mhm.
it be? Like, just to get an appreciation of.
Just to get an appreciation. Ooh, 444 by Jay-Z, for sure, for sure. But it's either 444 or The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Mm.
I think those two. Like, if you could pick between one of those, either one is good. Lauryn Hill was just ahead of her time with the stuff she was talking about. And the Jay-Z album really just was like so many flaws of a person, you know? It's like the sides that you don't see. It's like, I love that album because it was like he was telling his own story, before somebody else came out and told his story. So like, I believe in that.
Yeah. And the feeling in both projects, like Miseducation with Lauryn Hill is so iconic in the sense of like it changed hip hop, it changed hip hop for women, it changed just the sound, like it really blended it all. It was like it blended like hardcore gangster rap, it blended, you know, her ability to sing on that project. Like genuinely almost my favorite parts on that project is her singing. Like she
Mm,
sounds so good, so ethereal. Like her voice is angelic on that thing.
she sounds amazing, bro. Lauryn Hill is the goat, man. She's one of the goats. Like I don't know where that album came from, but damn, it's like one of the best albums to ever grace the planet. Like crazy.
Let me ask you this: do you think it's a good thing that it's just the one standalone project? Because like Lauryn Hill's legacy has really stayed in that. Like, obviously, as a fan, we would love to hear more of her music, but there's something
Yeah,
to be said about less is more because like it stands the test of time. That project is like this standalone, beautiful piece, and we're always like, I wish we got more. But the fact that it's less is almost a good thing.
yeah. I think that's partly what makes it so iconic, right? Is that that was her only studio album. It's like, but it just I don't know. Maybe that's why it's so iconic, you know, because that's kind of all we've had to listen to for all these years. So we've just been dissecting it for decades. Uh, so it could be, yeah,
Well, that's what I think about artists like Biggie. Like he's got two projects. And I wonder
yeah.
what it would be like to have a 50-year-old Biggie as opposed to
We needed that. I think we needed it, you know, because I could only imagine the maturity in his new if he was still making music. Oh my, like it would be crazy, I think, because you know what it is, like I think Biggie was different in that um I don't know, he was just so witty with his words and he was such a gifted lyricist that to his lyricism in his 20s to bring that into his 30s and then into his 40s, I would just I would be so intrigued at how the content changes of what he's talking about. Whereas like Lauryn Hill, I'm not saying that she's not gifted or anything because she is like one of the greatest, but you can kind of predict what she's gonna say, you know, or what she's gonna be talking about because she was well beyond her years as far as like her thinking, you know. But Biggie, in a way, he started off when he started his career, he was in the streets, you know, and I would love to see how his music progressed. When you look at artists like Jay-Z, who's also talking about, you know, the streets and drugs and selling drugs and things like that. He's grown so much as an individual, you know. So I would just I would kill to see what Biggie's talking about in his 50s, you
I
know?
mean, we have Nas right now releasing
Yeah.
projects. And he King's Disease 3 was one of the best projects of 2022. Like it was
Yeah.
so crisp, so clean. He had zero features on that album. And it is such a good project. And like to think about his legacy in hip hop, the early 90s is like where he started with
Mm-hmm.
Illmatic of like,
Right.
and now King's Disease 3 going from 94 to 2022 of like a career in that length is absolutely insane to me.
Crazy. But that when you got a gift, you know, you never lose it.
I agree. And
Mm.
speaking of gifts, man, you obviously gift us with a lot of your music. I'm excited to see what else you're going to drop. I'm looking forward to your project that's coming out in June. It's going to be brand new. And you said it's like a mix of house and a mix of hip hop. So I'm very keen to see how you do that. But obviously, for anyone who hasn't checked out Kota the Friend's most recent project, to see a sunset is the most recent one. I almost fucked it up. I fuck up names a lot on this show, so no surprises there. And then Lyrics to Go Volume 4, most recent project. Obviously, you got singles. Go Brooklyn, of course, is one of those. But man, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Do you have anything else you wanted to shout out? Anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
Oh man, that's it, bro.
That's it. Well, I appreciate it, man, and we'll speak very soon. I'll find that place in Italy for you in Rome, so you make sure you can get it.
Appreciate you, man. Yo, nice talking with you, bro.